Hello, everyone. Welcome to Snap Take. As you see this, I'm on my way to Iceland, but I've got two videos a day coming to you every day this week, even while I'm away. The, these videos will be the top 10 cards in Marvel Snap. Before we get to that, first, I want to congratulate our giveaway winners. We gave away 2 season passes, one to Captain Stark and one to Alejandro Cervantes, both over on Twitter. Our next giveaway will be next week as I return. If you'd like to participate in that giveaway, get the chance to get some money to get something in Marvel Snap, please follow us on Twitter at SnapJudgeCast and make sure you're subscribed here for more. In addition, if you've been watching these videos, you're curious how I play, over at Savage Yeti Gaming, one of our friends who's been on 2 Snap Judgment podcast episodes, over on his YouTube, I played the Thanos deck that brought me to Infinite, explaining my play for about 4 games. Please, in addition, go check that out. All right, on to the top 10 cards. You can tell what number 9 is. Number 9 is going to be Sunspot. Now, remember, there are 2 criteria here. One, this has to be a really good card early in Pool 3. As you're starting your Pool 3 journey, I wanted cards that you're going to want to play. The other thing that this card should be is it should be extremely relevant late game. When you're really, really close to complete with Pool 3, when you're at endgame decks, this card should still be one of the more powerful cards. And Sunspot's a weird one, because Sunspot doesn't really have decks. Sunspot just goes in kind of everything. This is a card that is in 45.3% of decks. You can see it on your screen right now. It is the number one most seen card, by far the most powerful one-drop. Much respect, pour one out to our homie Iceman, at least it'll be cold. Sunspot is extremely seen, extremely powerful. Pretty cool. He's one of my favorite Marvel characters, from the New Mutants to the Alluing Mighty Avengers runs. So I'm not sad that to see him so highly ranked, so good, but he is probably over the curve. He could even be higher on this list, but everything higher on this list is stuff that not just goes in every deck, but stuff that you can build around, stuff that you can make a deck around, or stuff that takes a deck that you make to the very next level. So there are a absolute ton of things you can do with this. Sunspot is a 1/1. At the end of each turn, gain 1 power for each unspent energy. Even if you only skip turn 2, that's a 1/3 that's at or above rate. It's actually above rate. There's only one other 1/3, and anything higher than 1/3 has a really bad downside. If that's all you do, he's great, and that he just soaks from there is awesome. One of the first places you can play him is this extremely early Pool 3 friendly Jeff Hoogland deck. This deck only really runs Doom and Wong as far as Pool 3 cards go, but it competes all throughout the game. This is an extremely powerful set of cards. It can do a lot to win you games. Fundamentally, early on, you're just trying to play on curve, maintain priority so that your Wong can't get Cosmoed or is less likely to get Cosmoed when you play after it, and build powerful turns. Of course, in any deck, you may just pass a turn. Sunspot isn't pivotal here, right? He's just an extra card. It's just that he's so strong at getting you priority, even in a deck that he otherwise has no business in, he fits. Recently taking the meta by storm is this Adama control deck. Now, this deck is not created by TLSG, I don't believe, but um, it's actually a destroyer archetype. It has been being seen everywhere. You can see I have the TLSG version up. We're going to use a lot of TLSG versions. Friend of our show, we love TLSG. Big ups to him. This deck is using Sunspot similarly, right? Like early on, you might need to Sunspot into 0 in order to wait a turn to Lizard or wait a turn to Atuma. You'll end up passing 3 sometimes if you Sunspot 0 on 2, right? Or if you Sunspot then 0, because you want to get Atuma out on 4 with no negative ability. 0 into Lizard as an 8 power 1/2 is extremely strong. But if you don't have Cosmo on 3, now you're just wasting that next turn. Sunspot will very often just sit there and soak. Um, your last turn play is often Red Skull in this deck. Again, extremely strong. If you are going Again, giving Sunspot extra energy, leaving him extremely strong. If you Professor X a Sunspot lane, you have the power to grow, and Sunspot is protected from anything negative happening to him by that Professor X being present. All of these things combine to make Sunspot really good in this deck as well. We've got a Savage Zoo deck. This is a Shauna the She-Devil deck, just showing the power of Sunspot. That the Zoo decks, by the way, are one of the more powerful decks that you can play. I strongly urge you to, if you like these decks, just stick with them for a while early into Pool 3. You're going to be seeing less Killmonger than you would in Pool 2, and so the power of Sunspot and the Zoo decks goes up. Sunspot starting at a 1-3 with Kazara Blue Marvel, later on Bast if you get them, is absolutely bonkers. This is super powerful. This is, again, a Sunspot filler deck. You're playing Sunspot because occasionally on turn something like 3 or 4, you're not going to want to play Shang-Chi or have Kazara Shana, right? So you're just going to play a couple ones, or you'll play a Zabu at that point, and that extra energy is just power now. It's no longer wasted. These next two are decks that really, really, really highlight the power of Sunspot as a thing you can play around. This is a Infinite Goose deck. This deck wants to pass either turn 5 or turn 6. If you're passing turn 5 or turn 6 and you've got Sunspot down on 1, Sunspot's already a 1-6 or a 1-7. That's obviously crazy powerful. Usually that comes with a -2 modifier and an extra body on the board in the form of Hood, right? To get up that powerful. But in this deck, Sunspot is an absolute must. He allows you to get under that goose and make sure that you're able to maintain enough power in that lane to really contest all by himself. And then toward the end of the game, ideally you're going on turn 7, She-Hulk, Infinite, or on turn 6, you've got a 1-7, and then you can drop that 20 power Infinite. Lots of ways to go about it with this deck. You could also go if you had to, you can go Sunspot, Demon, and She-Hulk on the last turn if you passed 5 for 9 plus. Sorry, that would be 3 mana. That would make Sunspot a 1-4. Still an excellent deal. This deck is absolutely perfect for Sunspot. This is probably the closest to a build around Sunspot deck we have. He's great here. I'm not sure this deck even honestly works without his presence. Another place that Sunspot is an absolute necessity is these MODOK post-patch decks. You'll see, again, we're using a lot of TLSG's stuff here. The idea here is that, like, if you get Sunspot on the board and you get something like Morbius and you have MODOK in hand, like, you want to play Dracula and kind of nothing else once MODOK is in hand, right? You don't want to play your other discard cards unless you can guarantee discarding Swarm or guarantee discarding Apocalypse, which means Colleen or Lady Sif. But that means Moon Knight, Swordmaster, and Hellcow, as long as you've got MODOK in hand, just straight up are not getting played. If you've got Dracula in hand, they're also probably not getting played. That's a lot of past turns. All those past turns end up being power for Sunspot. It's completely silly how much passively Sunspot and Morbius can, just by doing what the deck wants to do, become like 11, 12, 13 power in one lane. And then when you drop your MODOK Apocalypse, then you're playing a bunch of cheap swarms on top of that in order to win the game. The last deck we're going to look at is the Metas deck, the Shuri Zero deck that everyone knows about, that is dominating the game, features Sunspot. All this deck really cares about doing is going Shuri into ideally Red Skull Taskmaster, and sometimes She-Hulk Taskmaster, and sometimes Captain Marvel, She-Hulk, etc. on the last turn of the game. All of these little combos are A, super strong, but B, benefit from the fact that you have Sunspot just keeping priority, gaining power throughout the game. It's especially nice on the turns where you want to pass to get a cheap She-Hulk, pass on 5 to get a cheap She-Hulk on the last turn, and figure out what you would like to Shuri, what is most advantageous to Shuri at the very end. But again, at the very least, Sunspot's often a 1-3, 1-4, and when he's not, your curve is going so well that you're just going to win the game anyway. Going through this, it's hard to have Sunspot even down at 9, but a list with Sunspot at 1 honestly seems a little silly, and like, he's not the key to any of these decks, but in every single one of these decks, he can straight up win a game. Now, thanks for watching. I'll be back this afternoon with number 8 on the list, the 8th best card in Marvel Snap currently. Thanks for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. And next week, we've got another giveaway. Peace.